Hi, in this video, I'm going to create analytics data pipeline using Confluent and Google Cloud platforms. So we'll start with data gen source connector on the Confluent Cloud platform. Then we'll push that data into Confluent topic. And from Confluent topic, we'll have Google Cloud Storage sync connector, which will push data to Google Cloud Storage. And then from storage, that data will be processed by an ETL pipeline, which will build in Cloud Data Fusion service. And then that data will be returned to BigQuery dataset data table. And then we can use reporting tool like Looker on Google to perform analytics on it. So this is going to be the pipeline right from the source all the way to analytics. That's what I'm going to attempt to do in this video. So stay tuned. Let's get started. So this is the Confluent console. And I already created the cluster here called Confluent GCP data pipeline cluster. And I already created one API key that I'm going to use. Some other cluster settings, if you go here, it gives you the cluster ID. It gives you cluster detail on the provider. In this case, it is GCP on US East 1. And what else? So topics. So here we are going to create topic. So we'll start with, we're going to use transactions data. So I'll create a topic called transactions. And I'll leave everything default and create with defaults. So, okay. So right now it is empty. So we'll populate this with a connector. So let's go to connectors. And so there is a sample data gen source connector that we'll use. So let's go get started. And so this is a fully managed connector. So it's completely installed on the cloud. So we'll select the topic there where you want to push data to, continue, and we want to use the existing API key. So I'll enter the API key details here, the key itself, continue. And so there are multiple options available, but we are going to pick one called transactions. So, and then we'll have JSON as JSON is the output record value format. There are other options available. Use JSON here. Then let's do continue. And connector sizing we'll just leave to 1. So continue. And this is just a review of our settings. Click continue. So it is data gen source connector 0. Very creative name there. So now the connector is being provisioned, but we can go to topic and see the data coming in. So right now it is showing empty. Okay. Yeah, so this is the kind of data that is coming in. So it has transaction ID, card ID, user ID, purchase ID, and store ID. So this is all about the transactions. And we can run analytics on which user has the most transaction, which store had most transaction, things like that. So now the data is getting pumped into Confluent topic. Now let's go ahead and go to cloud, Google Cloud, and create our bucket. So I have the cloud, so this is Google Cloud Storage. There is no bucket, so we'll create one. So we'll call it Confluent. Confluent transactions data. Continue. We'll select just one region. You can keep US East 1. Plus, then we'll enable hierarchical namespace. So it will store data per year, month, day, hour, things like that. So we'll enable that. Access control will just leave everything default. And the rest other things default, and we'll create our bucket. We'll confirm. So the bucket is created within this project. Now we need to create service account because that's what we'll need on Confluent to create the connectors. Let's go ahead and add the connector, the sync connector to push data to Google Cloud Storage. So it's right here. So it's Google Cloud Storage Sync. So that is also fully managed. It's designated by this symbol here. And let's get started. Now we want to push transactions data. So transactions, continue, use the API key here. Now we need to get the bucket name. And then we need the GCP credentials. So we need to create a key. So let's go ahead and open a new tab. And let's go ahead and create a service account. And we can say transaction service account. And we'll just say owner full access. This is just for our POC purposes. And we can click done. So it created this transactions essay. So let's go ahead and we go to manage keys and we create. So add key. So let's go ahead and create new key, JSON. So now we go here and upload our credentials. Okay, continue. So again, the input to the sync connector is JSON, locale, and the path will be year, month, day, hour. Inter will run it daily. Oh, sorry, we'll run it hourly. There's nothing less than hourly. Output message will be in JSON format. Let's see anything in advanced. I think I can leave rest everything to default. There is a provision for single message transfer if you want to like mask SSN or things like that, that you can use this SMTs. And then let's continue. Okay, this connector sizing, you can leave it default, continue. And this is the review screen, you can check our settings. We'll leave the name default and then continue. Okay, now the data is getting created using this source connectors. It already created 624 messages on the topic. So if you go to topic and look at transactions, there is data getting constantly pumped in, and that data will be pulled by this connector that is getting provisioned right now, and it will pull the data and it will push to the data to our bucket. So the data will show here. It takes some time for it to show. So we'll pick back a little bit later on this. But meanwhile, we can go to Data Fusion. So Data Fusion is a managed ETL service that Google Cloud provides. So you create an instance. So I already created the instance here. So you create the instance, and then when you, let me X that out. And when you click on View Instance, it will open up the options to wrangle the data, to integrate, to open Studio, lists, so multiple things you can do. But what we are interested in is to go to Studio and create the pipeline. So it'll take a minute to show the pipeline here. And so what we'll do is we'll set up the source to be our GCS. So we have GCS as our source. And what we want to do is from source, we want to push to the sink. We'll not do any transformation here, and we'll push to BigQuery, and we'll set the properties for both of those here, and then we'll connect both of those this way. So the data will come, source will be sourced from GCS and will push to BigQuery. And let's go to BigQuery here. So, okay, so let's go ahead and create data set. So these are things available. There are no data sets here. So let's go ahead and create data sets. So you can just say Confluent data. I think you can leave everything as default. So it created this data set, and let's create a table inside it. So we can create a table and we can call it transactions. So we can edit schema later, but let's just set it up this way. Create a table. So let's take this. So you can go to Studio and to BigQuery, you can start populating the properties. We can leave this as is. In data set, so you can just say data set. We want to write data to this data set, and then we want to write to this specific table. And as the writing happens, we want it to do insert. And each time we do, we can do truncate of the table, or we can not truncate and upsert. So that is also another option. But in this case, we'll just do insert, and we'll truncate every time and then insert the data. And this input schema will be populated once we set up the, so let's go ahead and validate this. No response, so we can close this, and then we can name the pipeline. We can say transactions. And then in this GCS plugin, you have things like path where the files, JSON files are, the bucket path, the format. I know in this case it will be JSON. Now we need to provide path, things like that. So, and then we'll come back to it once we see the data flow. So let's save this. All right, so now here we see the folder created under our bucket. And if you click on that folder, then you see topics, transactions, the name of our topic, and then year, and then month, and then you see day, and then you see hour, and that's it. So in hour, you see all these different files with all the data that was pushed. So let's go ahead and look at one of those. So we download it. Okay, so this is how the data will come. This is exactly how the data was getting pushed to the topic. So transaction ID, store ID, user ID, purchase ID, and card ID. So now we want to process that data using the ETL pipeline, using data fusion, and push to BigQuery in a table. We want all this data to be in a table so that we can create a report and looker. So let's go ahead and configure this. And here we'll browse to the bucket. Let's go ahead here. Cloud storage. It's transaction that we don't want to select that yet. Topics. So we'll select the transactions so that it will process all the data under transactions folder. So select this. Right, so it selected that. Its format is JSON. Now schema, we'll have to override and create the schema manually. So we can create the schema based on this. So transaction ID, store ID, user ID. So user ID and everything else is numeric. So transaction ID, store IDs. Let's go ahead and so let's go to so here we need to have the regex path filter to be able to read all the JSON files. So we'll say dot star backslash dot JSON. So that will enable to read all the JSON files. Now we need to ensure that they are able to, that the program is able to read all the files recursively. So select that, make it true. And what else? We got the schema. This is the input schema. Now we need to get the output schema similarly. So let's go ahead and write the update the output schema. So close that. Now let's go ahead and check this. So now it is showing the input to the BigQuery. Service account path. So we're going to populate in Confluent data, transactions. And like I said, we have insert truncate table, and the rest everything is fine. So all right, so all that is set, rest everything is default, and let's go ahead and validate. No errors found, so let's close this and let's save this. Saved successfully. So let's go ahead and deploy. So the deploy is complete. Now we have option to run. So let's go ahead and run. So as you run, you will see the status updated here, and you can see the logs when it is running. So let's go ahead and click run. So now it has started. So this status should change momentarily. Did I not click? Okay. So it is provisioning. So this takes about 10 minutes. This takes a little bit longer. So it will go through this different stages like provisioning, starting, running, finish. So those type of things. But it takes about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So I'll come back to this and we'll look at those. Stay tuned. Yeah, so after about 6 minutes and 30 seconds, it is in the running state. And when it's in running state, you can see the logs. Not yet, but you'll see the logs here once it is in running state. And then you can look at summary of runs in the summary as well. So you can go to pipeline list. Then you can see, and then you can go ahead and edit here as well, duplicate things like that, and you can delete also. So in our case, let's just go ahead, it's running. Let's see if there are logs. Yes, so logs are starting to come in. So a little bit delayed, but yeah, the logs have started to come. All right, the status has failed, but if we look at the BigQuery table, it has the data in it. All right, so we have data in here. Let's see if we can visualize. There's small visualization that you can do here. But what we want to do is we want to use the Looker Studio. So let's go ahead and open Looker Studio here. And takes a minute for it to open. And it already has this query, but what we want is the whole table. So let's go ahead and so BigQuery tables, data set, and then we pick this entire table and we add. We are adding this table to the report. So the table is added. Now we need to update this source for this to be the transactions. So let's go ahead, transactions. And instead of sum of all transactions, we need the record ID, and instead of user, we need the store. So let's get rid of user. So you want to get store transactions. So instead of sum, we need record count. So we have the record count here, and okay, so there are only 5 stores apparently. So that you can add top 10 here or 6 stores. So there's some additional formatting that you can do here. Background color and things like that. But this in essential is the table of all the records. So if you want to get, says store number 6 has 488 transactions. So if you want to verify, we can go here and we can get a count. So move this order by, and then we can run the query. So 488. So it matches what we saw there. And so this was one. And then in the chart also you can create similar chart. So let's go ahead and click here and let's point to the transactions table. And instead of purchase ID, let's go ahead and have, say, user ID. So how many transactions user has. So user ID, and somehow instead of sum of transactions, we can get record count. Okay. And style, we can show the title here, and we can show data labels, and then we can just make sure we show only, okay, it doesn't have that option here, like top 5 or something. So it doesn't have those options here. But yeah, so this is another chart where record count for, let's say, user underscore 6 is 214. So if you want to verify, you can just say, and here we're looking for user underscore 6. So let's go ahead and if we run this, 240, so it matches. So this, in short, is a pipeline right from Confluent all the way through to Looker for your real-time analytics. So I set it up to run, I've set it up to run hourly, so I'll come back and then we can look at the runs here. So right now we don't have any runs. Let me go ahead and check how the connectors are doing. So we have these 2 connectors, both of them are running, so it is pushing the data. So I'm gonna keep it running and then we'll come back, and the way to refresh the data, like we saw earlier, you go ahead, view, and then refresh, and it will refresh the data. So there has not been a run yet, so that's why you don't have it here, but I'll come back to look at this updated data. Stay tuned. All right, so let's look at the execution. Okay, so it just finished and it succeeded. So let's go ahead and look at the list. I guess there's the only one, so click on it. And if we look at summary, then it will show us. So It ran for about 8 minutes 26 seconds, and I think it says records out. So it processed about 9,959 records. And I think this failed because I think both of them started almost at the same time. So that must have caused it to fail. Now let's look at the record count in here. Right. So 9,959, which kind of matches with what we were seeing here. 9,959. So now let's go ahead and refresh our graphs. So let's go view, refresh data. Okay, so now things have changed. So yeah, so store number 6 has 1704 records. And if you go by user ID, then you have user underscore as 3475 and user 9 has 758. So we can go ahead and check. User underscore 9. And if we execute the query, it says 758. So that's what was the result here. So this in a nutshell kind of gives a good view of your pipeline with the scheduled jobs running, things like that. So this almost analytic data pipeline from Confluent all the way to analytics reporting in Looker. Thank you. Thanks for watching.